Hello and welcome to the darkened room of music conversation.
I'm Darren.
And I'm Chris, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, pal.
Lots of great, exciting things happening around the darkened room here.
For sure.
For one thing, as of recording this, we had a major snowstorm, and it was pretty nice.
Look at that snow right there. I love it. It's beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. As you can see, the dogs love it as well.
No doubt.
Yeah. I think it's the most snow we got in an 8-hour period in Nashville ever. I tried to Google that today, and pretty exciting.
It was like 9 inches or something, right?
Yeah. According to the Weather Channel app, said we got 9 inches here where our recording studio is. So anyway, we want to acknowledge all the people that have already subscribed to the channel and are here along for the ride to watch us grow into something bigger, which we know we're going to. Yeah. As of this recording anyway, we are committing to putting out more videos on a more consistent basis, and we want, we swear.
We swear.
We solemnly swear. So we want to know from you who are already here on the ground floor, what do you want to see us do more of? What do you not like that we do? We want your input, and it's really important to us, because especially for you guys, you're the original fans. So drop that down in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to see more of.
For sure. We read every comment that comes along. We want show suggestions. That's what makes it fun for us. We don't know every topic we want to talk about, and it's an ongoing thing. So you can be part of this. You are part of this, and we'd love to hear from you.
All right. So let's get into the subject that we're going to talk about in this inaugural New Year episode. Music rituals.
Music rituals, superstitions even, maybe you could call some of this stuff.
Yeah, OCD-ness.
OCD-ness.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Music nerdness, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or is it nerdiness? whatever. You know what I'm saying.
I think nerdness is a word.
It is now.
We'll look it up.
All right. Well, I guess I'll kick us off. We all remember cassettes, the cassette days. I had so many cassettes growing up. I was like covered up with them. And at one point I sold a lot of them so I could invest more in CDs. But, me and you both, we've been collecting music for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I had to do with my cassettes was, of course, after I listened to them, I had to rewind it all the way.
Yes.
Has to be at the beginning, like this one right here. This is my Apollonia tape from way back in the day. Apollonia 6. It's actually a really good album.
Yeah.
And it's out of print now. It's really hard to find. I've got it on CD too, which is really, really hard to find.
Yeah.
But anyway, my original cassette, of course, it's rewound to the beginning. And I always had to do that with my cassettes.
Yeah. Now, I would sometimes rewind mine to the point where, like, if I didn't like the first or second song,
Really?
I would always set it at that point, so the next time I pop it in, it's on the song I want.
Okay, well, I could hang with that.
Yeah.
But just for me, I don't know. I think I read or heard something back then that it's easier on the tape, that it stresses it out if it's in the middle. It's easier to get torn up or whatever. So I just naturally always, what was the old saying? Please be kind, rewind.
Right.
When you used to.
I
just always did that with
my now there are some cassettes, of course, that I would listen to the whole thing. Tears for Fears, of course, being one of those.
Yeah.
It was always rewound to side A at the very beginning. Yeah.
I would say, and this is an unrelated subject, but what cassette did you listen to the most probably in your life? I would say it's an easy answer for me. Big Bam Boom by Hall & Oates.
Oh, okay. I had that one. I listened to it a lot, but I listened to Peter Gabriel so more.
Wow. Two great choices.
Yeah, Peter Gabriel. That one almost didn't leave my cassette player for the longest time.
Well, and you know what's weird about that is I didn't have that on cassette.
Oh, really?
My first version I got was on CD.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got it on cassette now. But
that was, when that album came out, that was like right at the threshold before I started buying CDs. Got my first CD player. So
good choice.
I had it on cassette at the time. And in fact, there was a reason why I would own an album or own a cassette there in the early days. Because I used to like to make mixtapes.
Yeah.
And my first stereo that I had in my room had a turntable and one cassette deck. So I had to buy everything on album so that I could record onto cassette and make a mixtape.
I like it. That's cool.
And then when I got my boombox that had a dual cassette, then I had to buy everything on cassette.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
There's some logic there.
That's a little bit of a ritual that I had in my teens.
Very cool.
Yeah, of course, speaking of the mixtape, most of you have probably seen the movie High Fidelity. How
many times.
John Cusack explains how to make a proper mixtape.
Now, the making of a good compilation tape is a very subtle art. Many do's and don'ts. You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch. But you don't want to blow your wad, so then you got to cool it off a notch. There are a lot of rules.
Before that movie even came out, I was pretty much doing that already.
Yes, you were. I can vouch for that.
Picking very carefully the order of each song, the transition, and how the whole mixtape would flow.
Right.
I was very, very intricately detailed about making sure that it was just right.
Right. You were really good about like going after the atmosphere of a particular mood or whatever.
It was, yeah. And I think that's what caused me to want to get into radio.
Yeah.
Because I loved
Makes sense.
I loved making the mixtapes, but I loved more playing them for my friends and my friends really loving the mix.
Make me a copy of that.
Yeah. So
sort of thing, yeah.
So yeah, that I got a lot of thrill from that, and that's what you get in radio too.
Yeah.
Even though, when you're in professional radio like we were, the playlist is already made for you.
Right.
So, a lot of that's lost. But now that we're in the digital age and I can do playlists online now, I Uber drive on the weekends sometimes.
Yeah.
And I make very specific playlists for certain times of the night while I'm driving.
Right.
I have one called Christopher's After Hours, and I start that at midnight. It's all, pretty much lo-fi beats, some trip-hop stuff, like a Massive Attack kind of thing.
Gotcha. Tricky, that sort of stuff, yeah.
It kind of calms down the drunks after midnight.
Yeah.
So.
You ought to do one called Death Ride. No, maybe that's not
Yeah, my ratings might take a hit on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I make my playlist, sometimes I get so detailed with it, I make spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Like, categorizing what's new, what's like a recurrent, what's older that is still popular with people, and I'll like put them in order and all that. I get over the top OCD when I make my playlist.
I'll tell you a funny story. One of the last Uber drives that I had, which was in downtown Nashville, the dude kept talking about how like he needs to total his car so he can get a new one. I'm like, is this good that I'm riding with this guy right now? Anyway, it was weird.
Yeah, I would worry if the engine suddenly started going.
Yeah, no doubt.
You might have to open the door and just tuck and roll.
Yeah. And of course, after cassettes, not long after that in the 80s, we went into the digital age. This was one of the very first CDs I ever got, this along with Journey Departure. This is, of course, Steely Dan, a decade of Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Now, this is me, something I just have to do. Whenever I listen to a CD and I put it back in the case, it's got to be right side up where you can read, lined up where you can read the writing. It's one of those nerd things, I admit.
I'm the same way. I did it every single time.
Yeah. And even if I'm in like a used store flipping through stuff, I open it up, I always put it back. Just naturally. I just want to.
Oh, yeah. I do the same.
Yeah. It's one of those, like you said, OCD moments. I can't help myself. I've just always done that.
Yeah. We came from an era where presentation of the music, not just the music itself, it mattered. When you collected something, you wanted it to all look nice and neat and perfect.
Yeah, like this has the original case still and everything, so.
Yeah.
And here it is all these years later.
So my CDs, the presentation on the shelf, everything had to be alphabetized by band. And of course I would drop the at the beginning of like the Beach Boys, and it would be in the B section.
Right.
It would be by last name of a solo artist.
So the that band?
They came in T, yeah. They did.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I always had to have them organized like that. And even when I had my case that I would bring to our college radio station of the CDs I wanted to play there, I'd put them in there in alphabetical order every time.
Yeah, that's cool. And I did pretty much the same thing too back then. So I have a question. You said you had everything in alphabetical order. So here we go. Let's say when we get to the P's in the Pink Floyd section, for instance, would you put them in order of the album release?
Yes.
Okay, so in order of album release, not the title, the release.
Not the title, the release, yes.
That's the right answer. I would do the same thing with Journey, Rush, Cheap Trick, all the stuff that I really love, Triumph, all that stuff, Glenn Campbell. Always in order of release.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, just wanted to clarify that because I agree. That's another weird ritual thing for me.
Yeah.
Eventually, my collection expanded to the point that I had to have, I was buying the same things, especially when CD prices dropped. And became pretty cheap. You can find stuff for sometimes in this market in Nashville, 25 cents to $1.
Oh yeah,
I would buy a lot of stuff that I'd never had before, and I was in the used business for a while, and you were too.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I started expanding how I organize things, just so I could have a quicker access to know, do I have this or not have this?
Yeah.
So I started getting into collecting stuff, pressings from other countries. And by the way, check out this CD episode up here. It's really, really informative, and we cover a lot of that information.
We do.
But certain pressings came from West Germany, certain pressings came from Japan, and I organized it according to that.
Yeah.
As you can see right here, what you're looking at here are Japanese pressings, as well as West German pressings, and even after that, collector editions that were like gold plated and stuff from like DCC, Mobile Fidelity. Had to have all those segregated as well. Ordinarily, we're not for segregation, but in this case, musically, I would segregate them according to audiophile releases as well. Yeah.
And I think, don't you have a special Glenn Campbell section as well?
I do have a special Glenn Campbell section. And not only Glenn Campbell, anything that I really collected, just massively. I wanted to obtain everything I could find.
Yeah.
I kept all of those separate too, like what you're seeing right here with Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, there you go. Now, I kind of went away from the collecting bug, and I went full digital, You
got married.
It was before that even. I adopted iTunes, and I digitized everything because I'm such a big playlist guy. But I don't collect stuff like that anymore, and I don't know how I would organize it now. If I was an actually big collector.
Yeah.
I would probably still have them alphabetized.
Okay.
It'd be like,
just a straight alphabetical order.
So that Pink Floyd Mobile Fidelity CD, I have that. I know it's in the piece.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have like all the Mobile Fidelity in one spot like you did.
Yeah. So, in the 80s, all the way up to like 1993, 94, we had these things called the long box.
Right here. Yes.
And whenever you purchased a CD, it came in this thing right here, which, once again, you can watch the CD episode. We cover that. It was this size because it was the same size that could fit easily into LP racks.
That's right, yeah.
And but I had a ritual, and most people would just like rip right into the box and take the CD out. But show them how we would take the CD out, because I know you did this too.
Well, the first thing that I would do, this is one of my music rituals. I can't stand plastic wrap. I would rip the plastic wrap off.
Right. See, I like the plastic wrap.
Yeah.
The difference between me and him.
I would totally open it from the bottom and let it slide out just like that.
Yeah. And then, see, I would carefully open it and leave this intact.
Yeah.
And see, I like this thing called the hype sticker, which makes stuff worth a little bit more too.
Yeah.
In the music collectors world, like people that buy LPs, for instance, they like it when it has the hype sticker on it.
Yeah.
So I've probably got, I don't know, a couple of hundred CD long boxes still, and I even got some still sealed in the long box. But yeah, that's how I would do it, and I would save the long box.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep the long box. I would keep it for a while, just because the artwork on the front usually was a little different. And it was cool to look at for a while, but eventually I'd be like, why am I keeping this? And I would toss it. So
yeah, as you could tell, I'm the hoarder of the show.
Right. Now, one thing that I will do, if it's a song that I particularly love, especially like in the car, I will not get out of the car until it's done. For example, like say if Comfortably Numb is on.
Oh, man. So you've never heard the song without the solo in your life.
That's right. I mean, you can't, No,
I agree.
You can't. There was only one time. I believe
he remembers it's one time. Amazing.
I believe there was a single version, a 45 version that they would put in jukeboxes, and it would fade out during the guitar solo.
Blasphemy.
Absolute blasphemy. Yeah. So, and I think even the second verse was cut out of it too.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's worthless.
I know. But when it comes to like the entire album, the concept album, if I pop this in, it's got to be beginning to end.
Right. But what if you have to go somewhere and you have to stop it? When you get back in the car, would you pick up where you left off, or would you start it over?
I might, maybe, but if I had the time, if I knew that I would be able to listen to it beginning to end, I'd start over again.
Yeah, I would always start over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just not the same without hearing it. I mean, you can't just like pick and choose songs off this. Come on.
That's true. Now, one thing about The Wall is it is in 4 parts.
True.
So you could start,
part 2, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's feasible to do that, but it's not as impactful as hearing the whole thing beginning to end.
Well, speaking of that, I kind of feel the same even in the LP era with my LPs. And you were with me when I got this. We were in
St. Louis,
St. Louis, Missouri, vintage vinyl. And this was back when you could get records for like $2, $3, $4. I bought like a bunch of the stuff that I really liked.
Yeah, I think he had to get a dolly to carry out all the stuff that he bought that day.
I did. I bought a bunch of Rush and Cheap Trick and Journey and stuff. But anyway, when I hear this, for instance, this is a concept album as well. I gotta put the needle down on track 1, go to side 2 eventually, and listen to it all in its entirety.
Yep.
I'm not just gonna like pick and choose songs. You gotta hear it all. It's a concept. It was made to be listened to all the way through. So
that's right. Yeah.
Once again, it's bad luck to not hear 2112 all the way through.
Right. So finally, one little quirk that I have has to do with volume settings. Now I'm going to show you a little video here of my stereo in the living room.
Yeah.
You can see how that there are numbers indicating the actual level of volume that the receiver set on.
Yeah.
So
That's a nice receiver. Where'd you get that?
Gee, I don't know. Yeah. I think I found it next to a dumpster.
You called me a dumpster?
You got it for me, and I appreciate that. So yeah, shout out to Darren here. So yeah, I have certain numbers in my head that I know are specific for watching Netflix or watching HBO Max. When I listen to music, though, there's a certain number that I set it on if it's just a casual listen.
Yeah.
Or if I really want to crank it, I know exactly what number to set it on, where it's like the optimal level, no distortion, not too loud, not too soft. And I do this in my car, too.
Yeah.
When I'm driving early evening and I'm listening to a certain playlist, I'll set the volume at 12. If it's later at night and it's the party crowd, I bump it up to 14.
Yeah.
When it's later after midnight doing the after hours, I bump it up a little more to 15. Because sometimes they get in loud and rowdy.
Yeah.
So that after hours mix is there to calm them, so they got to hear it. So I got to bump it up a little bit.
Gotcha.
And then, by the end of the ride, they're asleep and snoozing. So.
Well, I remember something when we were roommates way back in the day, and I guess it was in this local market, Comcast. I remember the first thing you would do is you would get the remote and go into the sound settings and change stuff around.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that very well.
Yeah. I've got to set everything just right. Treble, bass.
Yeah.
Balance has to be all zeroed out unless, there's something about that particular receiver that it's not quite, equal on both channels.
Right.
I've got to be sure it is. Like, I get, very, very OCD about that stuff as well.
Yeah, I hear you.
So how about you? What are your weird little quirks, your music rituals when it comes to listening to music? What are the things that your friends see you doing and they think you're crazy?
Yeah, or what do you they see you doing that rubbed off on them? Like your playlist, or not playlist, but your compilations of that kind of rubbed off on me when we were roommates. I started making CD, mix CDs and stuff.
That's true.
And by the way, when you really want to get to know somebody, guys, when you meet a new girl, have them send you a playlist. You can learn a lot about somebody by their Spotify playlist.
That is so true. Yeah.
Some of them you may never want to talk to them again after you say it.
You may not, yeah. So yeah, guys, if you got a playlist to share with us, drop it down in the comments.
Love to hear it.
Let us know what your little weird quirks are when it comes to listening to music, and we'll be back again with another episode very soon.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, we're going to start kicking them out, so pay attention, click the bell. You'll know when we release a new video.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Yeah, take care, everybody.
See ya.